As a young man, Paul Goodnight dreamed of becoming an artist. Over the years, not only has that dream come true, but many art collectors consider themselves lucky to own one of his works. Paul also feels that without older African-American artists such as John Biggers, who paved the road before him, his success would have been much more difficult.
It's a poor man's palette, man.
Although based in Boston, you can see Paul's works on popular shows such as NBC TV's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Fox Network's Living Single. Soon the world will have a chance to see his wonderful art thanks to the Summer Olympics. Last year he was commissioned by the Olympic Committee to paint a series of black male athletes. Paul is also an inspiration to others, and as young artists look to him for guidance, he and other black artists of his generation have looked to the generation before them. One of the main sources of their inspiration is painter extraordinaire John Biggers.
I'm delighted to be here today to see John Biggers, because John Biggers, like Charles White and a number of other people, were very important to me in my life in terms of my growth and development as an artist.
John Biggers is one of the major figures in American art in the 20th century. His contribution, especially in the area of murals, has been extraordinary, and he has given us a whole new way of seeing and understanding our peoplehood and the relationship of that to African and especially to Southern Black American experience.
Recently, Paul sat down with John to talk about why painting the black experience is so important.
John, you've been a strong inspiration to artists and people who are out of the arts all over the world. I mean, I truly remember being inspired when you were in Africa holding court. What keeps you inspired? What keeps you inspired? What's the spirit that makes you effective?
Inspiration comes to me from young people and from the ancient people, the old people. Mm-hmm. These two categories, they juxtapose the meaning of the universe in a way, because one is getting ready to step out and one has just stepped in, mm-hmm. you know? And the young, unconsciously, they can fly, they can do anything, and they do. All we have to do is just observe them. The ancients know everything. They are not interested in doing because they have done all their days. This is the inspiration. I think this is very, very important, which I'm beginning to say now. In our educational system, in our religious system, in our economic system, and in our social system, the African, the Mexican, the East Indian, all of the non-European people were bunched together under a Hegelian philosophy. Old Hegel, the German philosopher that lived during the 18th century, wrote that we were pre-logical. This got into all of the books. This is in all of the research. This is in the encyclopedias. This characterizes Western civilization. When you go to the museums like the Boston Museum or all of the museums in America, mm-hmm. beside now Jake Lawrence or one or two other painters, the African American is not represented. Now, this is part of my motivation too. And I know it's a part of yours to prove in the aesthetic beauty of what you do that as much thought, as much imagination that Michelangelo didn't even have. You are trying to put it in there. We are all trying to do that. This is a part of the necessity of our work. We live and breathe from that point of view that we must do this. This we cannot avoid. This you must make every picture the best picture.
I tell you this, sometimes I even get frightened.
Yeah, I know.
I get very, very frightened of doing the next piece to top the next piece.
Yeah, right.
Because I know as a human being, I think about the fear.
Yeah.
But when I get into it, the other being takes over.
Because that's right.
Yeah, it never is about me.
You're always dealing with your twin, though.
Oh, yeah.
And your twin is spiritual.
Okay, yeah.
That's the true twin.
Yeah.
But that's what all African art is about.
when did you find it important being a storyteller through your artwork?
It started completely with me being unaware. The first little picture I painted, when I could not paint fingers and faces, but I got these little stick figures. They are crossing the bridge. That's the beginning of the journey. That's the beginning of my journey. I was crossing that bridge, and you saw a beautiful landscape that was leaving that terrible sharecropping environment that I'd been in all my life. You see, that's when it really started. The story started. Okay, when I got to Hampton, that Christmas, the Japanese struck Pearl Harbor. We all knew, man, we ain't gonna be here long. See, all of us, we gonna have to give up, and with the segregation, we were gonna die in a segregated army, you see?
That's right, you were in the Navy.
Yeah, you see, so, and then over the next 2 or 3 weeks, this played so hard that I did The Dying Soldier.
Now, you use a lot of metaphors, metaphors that I think that you have developed yourself, such as the shotgun houses and the potbelly stoves, and also African folklore and metaphors from Africa. So it's almost as if you have combined what we here understand and take for granted and as everyday items and developed them and used metaphors and folkloric history, cultural history, and combined them in one picture.
Because my old man was a preacher, we learned to read the Bible early. So all of those old stories, all of those stories are illustrated by Africans. They don't illustrate the Bible better than it can be illustrated. So that must have been a connection, you see what I mean? Okay, now this is part of the motivation. But here are the symbols. And well, we got most of them. Our folks brought on to America. So here are the symbols that become the metaphors for expression. I said, so I'm gonna just use them. Why not?